Are we starting?
Yes,
Cut.
we are starting. Younes, thank you for coming. You are a born and raised Iranian.
Yes.
Who moved into England.
Yes.
And you also started doing social media.
Yes.
Which grew up very rapidly lately, and I've seen some of your videos. You talk about very interesting topics, not only
Yes.
politics. You talk about self-empowerment, you talk about the matrix,
Yeah.
and you talk about becoming a better version of yourself. I really like. I think you have healthy videos that I like, and I think
you.
are needed. I'm here in London. I came from Germany. I'm originally from Israel. I'm an Arab, born and raised Arab Israeli, a Druze, and I came here to see for myself the concerning rise of anti-Semitism. And the question is it become a safe place for the Jews to live? But I didn't want to only talk to Jews. I wanted to talk to all kind of people. And I found particularly the opinion of Iranian people, especially nowadays, have become more and more important and more interesting. So I would like to ask you, and I prepared some of the questions. First of all is, how do you feel with everything that is happening right now in the streets of London, in the UK?
So, first of all, I just want to say, I'm not doing this video because I'm pro-Israeli or pro-Palestinian. And I obviously want Israel to win this war on terror because I know the dangers of radical Islam. However, that doesn't mean I don't think everything that Israel is doing is right, okay? And I don't think Israel should be dashing out collective punishment as much as it does. However, I do think the main evil is Hamas and radical Islam. And I think Israel obviously is the front line in fighting that. That being said, I can't really comment on the anti-Semitic. I think there is, because 20% of Londoners are Muslim and they all have...
20%?
Yes. And they have, all these radical ideas. I'm not a Jew myself. I'm not a religious person. I used to be a Muslim, but I'm a spiritual person now. I think all religions are man-made. I believe in God. That's my own personal stance on it. However, I do think there is a rise in Islamism in the UK. There's a rise in, jihadis, people that, talk about Sharia law in the UK, and they think that somehow, because when you can't have an irrational argument with these such people, because they think, oh, Sharia law is the law of God. And then when you say law of God, then no man can ever question it.
But I never understood these people, because I myself, as someone who comes from that region, they ran away from Sharia law.
Exactly.
And now they come to a place that doesn't have Sharia law.
Exactly.
But do you really think that they want to implement it here?
Look, the thing is, Islam is a very militant religion. It says in the Quran that Muslims have a responsibility to Islamize the whole world.
Futuh.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if you're a real Muslim, you would want Islam to grow everywhere. And you see the signs already, with the whole Islamification, the whole Ramadan. And look, I'm all for multiculturalism. It's not a multicultural idea. But we as a society have to realize that Islam is a dangerous ideology, especially if you follow it word by word. And if you just look at the history of Islam, how it grew, Islam grew with blood, literally. Islam grew with blood, from Muhammad all down to Ali and so on and so forth.
Warlords, one after the other.
Exactly. And we have to be very careful, because Muhammad and Islam don't set the right examples for society.
You are a brave man.
Thank you
for saying that.
But it's the truth, because I know too much about Islam. And
I agree with you. I studied it.
And I was born in Iran. Obviously, I was born in an Islamic country, and I was taught Arabic as a kid. And the more I looked in it, all religions, I think all religions have their own ridiculous side, but Islam especially is a very militant religion. At least with Christianity. Christianity is not militant. You can read the stories and you can have your own take on it. Jesus never really killed anyone. But Islam, if you read the Quran and if you understand the Quran, it's a very militant religion. And there's a lot of call to action. There's a call to action to do jihad. There's a call to action to Islamize the whole world. There's a call to action to, if people don't convert to Islam, you either have to, tax them or kill them. So it was all by force. It was never by peace. So that's the problem I have. We have these Islamic scholars in the UK that try to pretend that Islam is such a peaceful religion. No, it's not. I was born in Iran. I know that Islam is not a peaceful religion. And that whole region went downhill when Islamists rised. And that, I think that was kickstarted in 1979 by Khomeini.
Do you think in Iran there's still a lot of people that oppose Islam?
100%. I think 80-90% of the people oppose the Islamic Republic. Yes, I'm sure. Because I don't know a single Iranian that likes them. They're just there with the iron fist. you know. Overwhelming majority of Iranians, there was a new survey done that says 60% of Iranians don't see them as Muslim anymore. And the reason is because Islam has left such a bad taste in their mouth over the years, and how they forced everything down their throat. And now we have stadiums where people sing, shove the Palestinian flag up your ass. In Iranian stadiums. You don't see any.
I was very surprised.
Yeah, have you seen that video?
I've seen that video when I was on the airplane and just was going, and I was wow.
And the reason is this, because Iranians are the only country that understand the danger of Islamism, and they also understand what it means to be a state sponsor of terrorists.
Yeah.
When you sponsor Hamas, and that's the reason why I say I support Israel in this fight. Even though I don't condone everything that they do, I know they are fighting against terrorists. They're fighting against Hamas, and by extension, they're fighting against Iran.
Yeah.
So if you're fighting against Iran, and if you're anti the regime, you have to support Israel in this fight. That doesn't mean I condone everything that Israel does, or that I don't condone.
Enough, I think.
You know, I think Israel should be a lot more strategic in the approach.
You know that there's many Israelis that don't agree with everything Israel does. Israel is a democracy.
Yeah, of course.
I condemn that government of Israel right now drastically before the war, and even now there's some things I agree, something I don't agree, and that's completely fair and game. But these kind of voices you will see in England, these kind of voices you will see in Israel and Europe and democracy, you will not see that in Iraq.
Of course, that's the problem. You will not see, you know, I don't disagree that Israel is a democracy. I have a lot of Jewish friends, actually. A lot of my friends are Jews, and they always tell me come to Tel Aviv. But I always tell them, look, I'm Iranian. Like, are they not going to mind if I'm Iranian and I come there? But I'm a British citizen. I am a celebrity, because you know why? If a lot of Jewish people shared my videos.
Yeah.
And a Jewish spokesperson even once shared my video. I think he's a very famous guy, the guy with the beard, I don't know his name. There's a bald guy that shared my video. He comes on Piers Morgan, So all these people, and I was flattered. Don't get me wrong, I was flattered that they were sharing me. But at the same time, I didn't want to come across like pro-Israeli. I am pro-defeating Islamism, okay? I think Netanyahu is a warmonger. I think I agree with him with a lot of things that he does. I think a lot of things that he's doing is correct. But at the same time, I feel like collective punishment, you're only creating more terrorists for the long run. I don't see how you can defeat this ideology. The more people, the more innocent civilians you kill, and I understand, okay, you cannot trust Hamas numbers, but at the same time, you don't really know how many Hamas fighters you've killed. You're fighting shadows. You don't really know, because everyone in that area is complicit. Some people work with the government, some people work with the health secretary, and as you know, Hamas is a government. It's not just a terrorist organization, you know? So it's very difficult, and even for Israel, you don't know how many as Israel, you don't know how many Hamas militants you killed. Plus, you don't even know who's a Hamas militant. A 13-year-old boy could be a Hamas militant.
Yeah.
So you don't really know who is a Hamas militant, you know?
They hide among their society, they hide among their people.
Yeah.
Here is the thing, you know, I know for a fact that Israel and none of the Israel, unless you're a lunatic, you know, but that's you have. None of them want to kill children. None of them want to kill innocent people. None of them want to kill the Palestinians. They don't want to, but they know that they cannot let Hamas keep existing, because Hamas comes and says we're going to do October 7 again, again. So we know either we finish the job.
How?
By killing them all, and that's what they're trying.
Killing Hamas, all of them.
Yes.
But how do you know who's a Hamas militant and who's not?
So when I'm saying killing them all, I'm not saying killing every Gazan that have an idea of Hamas. Anyone that is right now fighting them back and holding the hostages. Now Israel have two options right now, two goals. Bring back the hostages. They're still there. People are not talking about that ceasefire now. I keep asking these pro-Palestinians, okay, I'm all for ceasefire, but should the ceasefire be now or maybe after we bring back the hostages?
How many, let's assume that Hamas doesn't release the hostages. Are you going to continue to kill 1 million Palestinians? Let's say Hamas,
not.
But then the thing is, this is the problem I have with Israel. You're comparing your actions to a terrorist nation. You should never compare yourself to a terrorist nation. Of course they're going to take hostages. Of course they're going to do all these horrendous things.
So what should you do?
So the thing is, look.
Leave the hostages? Tell them, guys, keep them?
But then the thing is, you cannot. I know what you're saying.
To bring the hostages, you need to go physically.
Yeah, physically in. Go. This is the thing.
Here's the thing.
I go physically in. I agree with you. Go physically inside the tunnels. Go and fight man to man. Go inside the tunnels. And I know
they're trying that. Yeah. Here's the thing. You know, I was an officer in the army, and I've been in warfare. And you know, some people sometimes don't really understand the complexity. For example, you send now a team of special forces, okay, and they're going looking for hostages, and this team enters a trap. They made an ambush for them. They're shooting at them from everywhere. I don't know what. Now this team right now
go with robots.
Is calling for backup.
Yeah.
Now, the army of Israel can come and say, let this team die because we're humanitarian. No, we're going to bring our boys back alive. So they will shoot rockets, they will bring tanks there, and they will rescue their people in war. That's how you do war. Now, what happens is when the enemy, if he will face you man to man, this war is going to be different. But when the enemy is hiding in hospitals, in kindergartens, hiding in tunnels where they come in, just shoot a rocket and run away, the enemy's cowardice reaction is forcing you to go and pluck them out from where they're hiding, and that brings casualties. I'm not for these casualties. Casualties are terrible, but I'm saying when it comes to a warfare, this warfare is very complicated. Now, you cannot leave the hostages because they're there. You have women and children that are being, sorry for the language, being raped, humiliated in so many terrible ways by radical, extremist, peaceful Muslims,
they're not peaceful.
They're not peaceful at all. Me and you know that. But that's another topic. That's we can go on that forever. I do respect your opinion. I do hope that there was just no civilian casualties. It breaks my heart as a father, to see these things. But I just don't see another solution. How are you going to get there?
Yeah, but my problem is that fundamentally, even if you kill every single Hamas militant, A, you're not going to kill an idea, and B, you're going to create more terrorists long term. Because if you kill someone's child, if you kill someone's mother, if you kill someone's sister, even though there were casualties, this person is 10 times more likely to become radicalized.
As a former Muslim, as an Arab myself, there's something I know about the culture.
Yeah.
In that culture, to kill an idea is very hard because they're just stupid. It's enough that one of them will go up with an AK-47 and says, Allahu Akbar, and then they'll all say, yeah, we won, and rally behind it.
Yeah.
But if you humiliate an idea in the Arab culture, if you bring it down to its knees, into the point that it becomes a joke, even in the Muslim world, they will look at them, look at you guys are idiots, stupid. That's how you kill an idea, because you humiliate it.
Exactly,
that's culture,
that's exactly what I'm trying to do, because I think, look, anyone can be any religion that they want. However, we have to be honest and open about the religion. Okay, I understand Islam inside and out, and I understand the hadiths inside and out. Islam is not a peaceful religion. It's a very militant religion. And it has a lot of call to action. And it has no place in Western civilization or any other civilization for that matter. Okay?
That's interesting. That brings me to the interesting hot cookie I wanted to ask you. Because I have my opinion about it, and if I talk with Europeans, they think I'm radical. And I'm getting fed up with liberal Europeans or Americans that have no skin in the game. And when we come and tell them, an Iranian, an Israeli, an Arab, come and tell them, listen, this is not good, they call us the radicals. And we are actually the ones that are trying to actually warn them. Do you think Islam is in any way compatible with European or Western values?
Not at all. I don't.
So what should they do?
Well, this is the thing, you cannot kill an idea, but what you have to do is to challenge an idea. And then the problem with Islam is that whoever talks about Islam or whoever talks about Muhammad, then you're an apostate, or they keep you a target, like, Charlie Hebdo shootings. I'm a very brave person. I don't want to say it. A lot of people say to me, Younes, you're so brave to talk about Muhammad. You're so brave.
Very brave.
You're very brave to talk about Islam. And I'm thinking, it shouldn't be like this. Why is it that if you speak about Islam or Muhammad, then all of a sudden you should have death threats, and that's somehow a normal thing in society? That should never be okay. You can talk about Jesus, you can talk about Moses, you can talk about any other idea, communism, capitalism. But I mean, fundamentally, Islam is an idea, and it's not a good idea. Let's keep it real, okay?
Oh no, it's not. It's not.
It's not a good idea, and let's say you have Muhammad as your biggest example. Muhammad was the person that killed thousands of people, beheaded thousands of people that didn't want to convert to Islam. He forced them to convert to Islam. He either forced them by giving, you have to give me more tax, or he beheaded them. He committed genocide on the Jews. He slept with Sophia, the wife of Kanana, the same night he killed her husband. He married a 9-year-old Aisha. And all these things, and if you go throughout Islam, Islam is a very radical militant religion, and that's why it's a dangerous idea, and that's why we should humiliate and confront it. And that what I'm trying to do is to confront the idea through dialogue. But then what we shouldn't say is everyone's entitled. No, not all Muslims are the same. Oh, of course I didn't say all Muslims are the same. When did I ever say all Muslims are the same? I never said that. But I'm talking about Islam as an idea. And those, modest Muslims, they don't follow Islam word by word.
No.
They don't follow it word by word. Maybe you can say that about any other religion, but especially Islam is a very militant religion. There's a lot of call to action.
My problem with these modest Muslims that you're talking about, the silent majority, is that they don't condemn.
Yeah.
They don't condemn the atrocities that obviously is happening. The biggest victims of Muslim killing is Muslims. Muslims are killing Muslims more than anyone else is killing Muslims out there in the world, including children, women.
Yeah, I made a video about that.
All the and I've seen it. And all the crimes that are happening in the Muslim world against women, against everything, they're the biggest enemy of themselves. It's fair to say.
Yeah.
But you won't hear them condemn that.
Yeah.
And you won't hear Muslims condemning also when they're doing things against the West. They barely hear their voice on October 7, which, you know, any moderate Muslim who saw the videos of the rapes, of the killing, of the beheading, all these stuff that happened there, should condemn that. That's just a norm, but you barely hear them. You barely hear them condemning 9/11. You barely hear them condemning other stuff, but they will condemn anything that is the West. When you saw the picture of this little baby that died in the shores of Turkey, I think, or Greece, from the immigrants.
Yeah, I saw.
All the world, the liberal went raging.
Yeah.
All the Muslim world went raging. But then when you see the hundreds of thousands of babies that have been killed by ISIS, by Syria, by Iraq.
Yeah, of course.
Silent.
And this is the thing, look.
Silent majority there is dangerous.
Yes, so silent majority is dangerous. There's two reasons for that. The first reason is that Islam needs to go through its own renaissance and through its own age of enlightenment. The church also committed a lot of atrocities and a lot of horrors 500 years ago, you know, until 200-300 years ago. Anyone that spoke against the church, they would have killed him. Tortured and killed. There were scientists that said the world is round, like Galileo, and they tortured and killed him. Why did you say the world is round? It doesn't say that in the Bible, you know? So what Islam needs to do, Islam needs to go through its own renaissance and its own age of enlightenment. And that can only happen when people come openly question the surahs and the hadiths that are present within Islam. Things that are present within Islamic culture, like, is this acceptable? Is it acceptable for a man to have unlimited different wives? Is it acceptable to have sex slaves? No, I don't think so, you know?
But do you think Islam is capable of doing the separation, what you're talking about,
A separation
of
of
state?
The thing is...
That's what saved Christianity.
That's what saved, exactly.
If we would be living right now under biblical Judaism, some terrible stuff happened. Same thing under, you know, church, Catholic church, pre-Roman church, kind of...
This is the thing, look.
Crusades, terrible things. They separate.
This is the problem with Islam. If you are, you know, if you are a Muslim, they say, as soon as a child is born, that's a Muslim child. But then you never give the choice to that child to be Muslim or not. But then if you want to leave Islam, then you're an apostate, meaning you should be killed.
Yeah.
So you're born into it, you're born a Muslim, but if you want to leave the religion, all of a sudden you're an apostate. And that happens in Islamic countries. If you decide to convert to Christianity, or if you decide to be an atheist, your punishment is death. And that is practiced in Iran, it's practiced all over the Islamic countries. Wow. So this is the thing. And why do they do that? Because it says that in the book. You know? So this is the thing we have to challenge, is that no, it's not okay to kill apostates. What do you even mean by apostate? No, I don't believe in your ridiculous religion. With all this, I don't believe in any religion. I feel like there's truth in all religions, but there's some truths and there's some wrong. No religion is 100% wrong, no religion is 100% right. But because Islam is a very militant religion and they scare people, they scare you. They say, if you leave Islam, we're going to kill you. That's why we don't have a bigger majority like myself coming out and saying it. And look, I live in the UK.
Are you not afraid walking in the UK in the street?
I mean, I'm not afraid because I'm a brave person. Naturally, I can defend myself. But people around me are afraid for me. Family members, friends. They say, we're afraid even by association with you. We are afraid.
Something very surprised me when I was walking in London, first time in London. I did not feel that comfortable, you know, because I had this hat that said Ezra and Zion, which is just my friend's hat. You know, I have nothing affiliation with it. They had two kids named Ezra and Zion, so they made the hat with their names on it. They gave it to me as a gift. I love this hat. But I was worried, like, people will see this name, might, you know, want to hurt me. Or will hear that I'm speaking Hebrew on the phone. But then when I put my kafia, which is my grandfather gave it to me, I didn't feel any more afraid. I felt very much at home in London, wearing the scarf, because I felt that the people who would want to hurt me would not hurt this guy, because so there's a lot of them here, you know?
Yeah, there is. Look, I can't really speak on that because I'm not Jewish myself. I can't. But however, what I can say is that, yes, there is this feeling that you can't speak about Islam without repercussions. Okay? And I think that's a ridiculous idea. And that idea should be challenged. You can speak on Islam and you can question their prophet and you can question their history, because it's not a pretty sight. once you do so. And the reason I'm not a Muslim anymore is because I know too much about Islam. And I lived under the conditions, and I've studied the books, and I've studied the life of Muhammad, and actually what happened after him, especially as well.
That's when the problem started.
So yeah, even his own life.
Shia and Sunni.
But exactly. But even his own life, I don't think he's a great example. No. And if Muhammad is your greatest example, then I worry for you, because he's a person that committed genocide. He's a person that had sex slaves. He's a person that had multiple different wives. He's a person that committed pedophilia with Aisha. And all these things, and he's a person that forced people to become Muslim and say, if you don't become Muslim, I'm going to kill you. And he's the person that personally, with his own hands, killed thousands of people. So if that's your biggest inspiration, if that's your biggest, highest ideal or a goal, it's like saying, well, I worship Genghis Khan, because I don't think Genghis Khan is any different from Muhammad.
What do you think about, the European political correctness?
Yeah, I hate it. I hate it because, that's what I try to do within my own platform, is that I challenge all these ideas. I don't just speak about Islam. I speak about like gender ideology, LGBTQ, that we have 100 different genders. I think that's ridiculous. No, we don't have 100 different genders. We have 2 genders. That's it. You can you can be gay, you can be lesbian, you can be whatever you want, but you cannot, identify as a man or you cannot identify. And I speak about, things like, racism, Black Lives Matter. I think it's like, again, ridiculous. It's race baiting. So I'm not this type of person that falls into saying, oh, this is anti-Semitic, or this is, I believe in open discussion. Okay, I speak about everything. And I think one thing we need to get over is that whether you're a Muslim, if someone questions Islam, you're saying, oh, Islamophobe, and same on the anti-Semitic side. If someone says something about Jews or the Israel, that doesn't mean you're an anti-Semite. It just shows maybe I'm questioning there are some parts of Judaism, or I'm questioning some part of Israel as a country, but that doesn't mean I'm anti-Semitic. The same way, if I, question Islam, doesn't mean I'm against all Muslims. And I think we should get rid of this idea as a society. Stop playing identity politics. We're not our collective identity. We are our own individual identity. You are who you are, and I am who I am. Okay? And funnily, I've done a genetic test recently, and I've got 55% West Asian, which is Turkish and Persian, 25% South Asian.
Maybe we can throw about it. I think we should do more podcasts, me and you, in general.
Yeah.
What do you think about Andrew Tate?
I made a video about him. I think he's both.
You did?
I did. And I think he's both a positive and a negative influence. I'll start with the positive. I think, look, what we have in society now, that anything masculine is bad. No, we need masculine energy, and men are very important in society. They do most of the physical labor. Masculine traits are also very desirable, okay? So I don't disagree with his idea of being a man. However, what I do disagree with is how to be a man. I disagree with Andrew Tate, because Andrew Tate's idea is that, oh, I'm going to have multiple different wives, and I'm going to have kids with multiple different women, and that's why I'm a real man. No, you're not a real man. You're a real man if you have one wife, you have a family, you do your community. And fundamentally, when he converted to Islam, that said a lot about him, about his mentality.
Yes.
Because it's only in Islam that you can have multiple different wives and have sex slaves and all these things. And I think
he even refused to condemn Hamas, which was a big thing for. That's when I realized that this guy who's outside of the matrix is part of the matrix. He's just part of the Muslim matrix now. He will not say a word that will anger the gods of the money they give them, Which, because Piers Morgan was talking to him and told him, are they there? And he kept, no, but, top G, all this nonsense. And just like you said, first of all,
it's very easy to say I condemn Hamas. Just say I condemn Hamas. That doesn't mean I agree with everything that Israel does, but I condemn Hamas. Yes, they're a terrorist organization.
Yeah, it's black and white. These guys will not want to kill only the Jews.
I don't know why it's so difficult just to say that. But then they try to back up with, oh, well, Israel is occupying land, all this bullshit. Look, we can coexist, okay? However...
We can't, or we can.
We can. However, we have to get rid of this idea that Muslims say, well, Jews have to go. No, Jews don't have to go. Jews used to live there before you, 1,500 years before you. That's historical fact. 1,500 years before the Muslims conquered, Jews used to live there. And Jews were conquered many times by Alexander the Great, by the Persians, by Roman Empire. But they stayed there. So this idea that, oh, Jewish are occupying Muslim land is ridiculous, because they predate you by 1,500 years.
It's just historic facts.
Yes, these are just historic facts. They predate you. However, that doesn't mean things don't change and don't evolve. Okay? And what we have evolved now is that now it's both Muslim and Jewish. However, the problem is that because this is a problem within Islam and Islamic countries. Islam and Islamic countries don't question and don't condemn their own religion. That is the problem. The problem is you have a lot of, you can make fun of Jesus, you can make fun of Jews, but you can't do that in Islam. And until more people in the Middle East wake up and they start actively questioning Islam, actively questioning the laws and going through, but because Muslims don't do that, they give center stage to such anti-Semitic behavior. They're like, oh, Jews are the problem. No, they're not. And I think what was happening, and this is the point I'm trying to get to, the Abraham Accords. Even Islamic countries such as Saudi Arabia were willing to sign the Abraham Accords. Why? Because they've realized that it's better to have peace with Israel, and there is, the reason why I like Mohammed bin Salman is because he recognizes Islamic extremists, and he has a very tough stance on Islamic extremism. I'm very impressed with Mohammed bin Salman too.
By the whole country and the whole policy.
Yeah, and he says, look, we're not going to be traditionalists anymore. We can be Muslim, but we cannot be traditionalists. Women can drive. Women can do all those things. Women can. All these things.
Wow.
That, so this is the thing that I really like. So why did October 7th happen? Because Islamic Republic of Iran would have been isolated if Saudi Arabia signed the Abraham Accords with Israel. That would have been the normalizing of relations between Israel and the Arab world, which would have isolated Iran. So what do? They go and fund Hamas to cause this terrorist attack, for all these things to happen since 7th of October, all these different protests, for all of these peace talks and all of these divisions to come back into light.
And then they will see dead children, and then you'll see dead babies, dead women, and then there'll be pressure on Saudi Arabia. Are you Muslim or not?
Yeah, exactly.
How come you're siding
But I
with
like
Israel?
him. He hasn't succumbed. He's still saying, I'm going to sign the Abraham Accords. Yeah.
Because I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's something they don't talk a lot about it. But I felt that, Iran controls Hamas. Controls Hezbollah,
Houthis.
and if they're playing Houthis, now this is their card. They're sitting on. They don't have a great hand. America have better hands.
Yeah, of course.
But
they're the head of the snake.
Why did they sacrifice the Hamas card?
Because
something was more important for them, and that was the Islamic Accord, the Abraham Accord.
Abraham Accords,
That was more important for them, and they were like, "Shit, this is so bad
and
for us.
Also, you have to
Let's sacrifice Gaza."
They
literally, because what happened? What do you think would happen?
Exactly.
When the Israelis would wake up in the morning and see dead babies,
of course they're going to retaliate.
When they would
rape
Jewish women and take the camera and put it in their face, so the face recognition, and then call their family, so the family now can see. And they did that. They took a Jewish woman, many of them, and they brought the camera, put it on her face, unlock, FaceTime or WhatsApp call her family. Her family, hi honey. And then they see her, and then they raped her in front of their families. When they did these crimes, what do you think Israel is going to do? Israel is a nuclear nation. Israel have the power to destroy the entire Middle East.
Of course they were going to retaliate.
So Iran knew that.
Iran knew that 100%. However, look, you have to get into context, because in 2022 we had a woman called Mahsa Amini killed for not wearing the hijab. So we had large-scale protests both within Iran and outside against the regime, and I think the regime was coming to his knees. Very close to coming to his knees. They were killing people, killing protesters, and anyone that was speaking against the regime in Iran. So they killed the girl, but this is just they killed the girl for not wearing a hijab, which sparked, but this is 44 years of oppression we're talking about. In Iran, people are oppressed for 44 years. The Islamic Republic of Iran is an oppressive regime, and they rule with an iron fist, And they saw that the whole world is waking up to their dictatorship. So we had protests in the UK, protests within Iran, and they were like, okay, what do we do? And now they saw Abraham Accord happening, and they said, oh, all of a sudden we're going to get isolated. So what do? They organize the attacks but we shouldn't be fooled, All of this is just theatrics. After this, Israel has to sign the Abraham Accords with Saudi Arabia, and all we have to do is to isolate Iran. The Islamic Republic of Iran. Because Hamas will still happen, Hezbollah will still happen, Houthis will still happen. Who's sponsoring them? Iran. So Iran is the head of the snake. If you want to deal with all these terrorists, you have to deal with Iran
first. The head of the snake. But somehow they're ignoring the head of the snake, and they're just running around these little tentacles.
Exactly. And I think fundamentally the Biden administration emboldened. Obama emboldened Iran and Biden. Trump didn't. Trump killed Soleimani, and that's why I'm a big Trump fan. When he killed Soleimani, I became a big Trump fan. And so because Soleimani was the biggest terrorist in the Middle East. He was organizing all these things in Syria, Iraq. He was even organizing things against Israel when he killed Soleimani, and that's why I'm a bit. Sometimes Netanyahu He pulled out of the operation last minute. Trump always talks about it. Why did you pull out of killing someone like Soleimani?
Netanyahu is not as combatant as people think.
Yeah.
He's not as, strong military-wise as people think. He likes to wear that suit. But many times, even the last operation in Gaza, Hamas was surrendering, and Netanyahu ordered, okay, stop. Why didn't you finish them?
Yeah.
Why didn't you finish them? No, he stopped, he pulled back. So he seems like he's more concerned about political survival.
No, I think,
sometimes.
but he's also scared of Iran. Because Iran because I don't know how close they are to a nuclear bomb. I hope they never get it, because if Islamic Republic gets, it's the end for Iranian people, first of all, not for...
It's the end for the world.
It's the end for the world, yeah. So...
The nuclear bombs are so strong today that they said if 3 or 4 of them got shot, it can basically end all of humanity. That's like what I heard from scientists who were talking about it.
I think that's hydrogen bombs, but
Okay, but if they shoot now, you shoot back at them, and they shoot, and they shoot, and then right now you have nuclear winter around, the whole world will suffer from that.
Yeah.
But the problem is, I'm not afraid of America shooting a nuke about France, or France shooting Germany, because these are democratic countries, they want to have good life. Give a nuclear weapon to Iran? These radicals? That's...
Yeah. Look, this is the thing. Now Pakistan has it as well. Look, that's very correct that I'm against the Islamic Republic of Iran and I want them gone. I want the Islamic Republic gone. However, what we can't say is that, look, the technology is already out there. Pakistan has nuclear bombs. Israel has nuclear bombs. Why can't Iran? They would say, that's what they would say. Why can't we? All these countries have it. America has it, France have it, United Kingdom have it, Israel have it, Pakistan have it, India has it, China has it, Russia has it. Why can't we? All these countries have it. So what makes you better than us? And then they would point to the US human rights. Well, you're the only one that detonated the atomic bomb.
Yeah, but these are games.
These are games.
Words,
However, look, our focus should be getting rid of Islamic, radical Islam. And that starts with Iran, but that also starts with having a conversation.
Yes.
With a genuine conversation in the West about Islam, about the dangers of Islam. And anyone that talks about Islam is not an Islamophobe. We have to get rid of this idea that if you speak about Islam, you're an Islamophobe. I come from a Muslim background. I come from a Muslim family. Okay? I have some family members that are still Muslims. But I still decide to question it. Why? Because I know too much about Islam. And it has no compatibility with modern way of life. Not at all. And Islam needs to go through its own renaissance.
That's a lie of the radical left and the radical Muslims, that if you condemn Islam, you're an Islamophobe. I just came from a pro-Palestine Muslim rally here, and they kept just talking about how they are being oppressed and condemned, and people are afraid of them. And I'm sitting there, and I'm what's probably the only Arab in the crowd. And I'm saying, like, there's a good reason why people are afraid of you. There's a good reason why people are trying to put sanctions on you, because you want to bring Sharia law here, because you want to kill anyone that condemn you. You want to force women to wear hijabs. And the saddest picture I think many of us have in our heads when we think about Iran is there's these images that are still
in the 1970s,
kind of yellowish vintage black and white images where you see women with like short pants or skirts, very European haircuts, beautiful women, beautiful men, sitting there with their an apple, with their newspaper, with bikinis, and then you look now at Iranian women.
Iran was on its way to democracy, and if we're going to have a nuanced conversation about this and be honest about this, it was America and Britain that brought Islamism back in the Middle East. We have to be honest about that. We had a very progressive king called the Shah, and he was heading towards democracy and everything was liberalized in Iran. But then why did America and Britain hate him? Because he raised the price of oil. And what did they do? They bring Khomeini. They caused a revolution. They actually funded the revolution in 1979.
Reagan, right? Reagan was that?
No, it was Carter. The revolution in Iran was funded by Carter to bring Khomeini in. And look what you've done. You've basically, and then as soon as Khomeini got into power, what did he do? After 2 weeks, he took American hostages. So he backstabbed them. Like, Batman, Bane, when he uses someone to get into power and then he backstabs them. So that's exactly what Khomeini done. So if we want to go back to it, look, Middle East was on a way towards democracy. I'm not saying they were there already. Even Iraq with Saddam Hussein. You can say Saddam Hussein was a dictator, this and that, but he was 100 times better than what we have now. Yeah,
That's
Iran.
what the West don't understand. In
Yeah,
the Arab
exactly.
world, they
Libya.
appreciate power, and a lot
Gaddafi,
of time having
all
a
these-
strong person, even if he's not the perfect person, is
Yeah.
better than not having him, because
Yeah.
they are not yet. Islam is
You
not.
don't know what's happening in their societies.
Islam
You know,
is not
Saddam Hussein was killing the
compatible.
extremists. Saddam Hussein kills. Yeah, he was killing the terrorists within his own country. So how can you judge?
Yeah.
Saddam Hussein and Iran, even Iran. You know, Shah was never a dictator. He never really tried to kill people. But even the political prisoners he had were all these ayatollahs. All these ayatollahs and all these Islamists were in prison. Why? Because you give this. But this is the thing. We have to realize that America and Britain, because they wanted cheap oil, one reason, but they also don't want a unified Middle East, because if all of Middle East unified and they all pool their resources, all the oil, it would have been a threat to the West. They didn't want to do that, so what do? They always, what's the word?
Stir the pot.
Stir the pot, but
created chaos.
create chaos, but topple democracies. They toppled democracies that gave them something worse.
Yeah.
America and UK, they toppled democracies in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, even in the early 2000s. They toppled democracies that ended up giving them more radical terrorists. And if you want to go to the root of the problem was all just oil, and it was just all money. If America allowed Iran to grow within his, if Iran made it to 1980s, 1990s, the Middle East would have been completely different. The Middle East fell when Iran fell.
Yeah.
The Middle East fell when Iran fell. Why? Because Shah was the only one he was saying to the Americans, he was saying, I will be your point of security in the region. So anyone around us that will try to be radicalized, I'll deal with them. And even during Persian time, Iran and Israel were very close. But then again, Shah said something very interesting, and he said, look, I'm pro-Jewish and I'm pro-Israeli. However, the Jewish or the Israelis, they're taking it a bit too far. It would not serve their own interests long term. And then they say, Shah is anti-Semitic. No, he's not saying that.
I don't think that's an anti-Semitic statement. That's just a strategic political statement. Maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong, but I don't see that as anti-Semitic.
Yeah, he said they're pushing it too far. And that's the thing. They try to stir the pot against them. Middle East fell when Iran fell. And the only way the region has some sort of stability is when the Islamic Republic goes and Iran has a democracy, a republic democracy, or a monarchy.
Let me ask you a question that many of our viewers probably don't sometimes understand.
Yeah.
Is Iran Muslim Brotherhood?
No, because I'll give you a historical context. Iranians were never Muslim. We have our own.
No, I'm talking to the government. The government right now is Muslim Brotherhood.
Yeah, Muslim Brotherhood. They see themselves as the resistance. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
Now, here's what many people don't fully understand. The reason that Egypt, Jordan are afraid of Gaza is because Gaza is Muslim Brotherhood. And they already know the poison that this ideology can bring. Now, why am I saying that? Because now in Europe, what do you think about the majority of the Islamic immigration to Europe? Did they bring Muslim Brotherhood into Europe? The ideology.
Yes and no. Yes. I think we are very overly relaxed with our immigration policy. We shouldn't take immigrants from Islamic extremist countries such as Afghanistan, such as Pakistan, such as people from Iran that say they are Shia.
That is coming from a former Muslim.
Yeah, exactly.
Iranian.
No, because I know they're not good for society. Because they come with these radical ideas, and I don't want people that live with Western society to believe it's okay to kill people that disagree with Islam. I don't want that people, because I'm a person that disagrees with Islam. So why would I want people from that radical background to come to this country? Of course I don't want it. If you're an open Muslim, if you're a liberal Muslim, if you're a Muslim that is willing to adapt and assimilate, I'm happy. You go through the legal procedures, you can do all of that. I'm not saying put a ban on all Muslims. Of course, no one says that, However, I'm saying you cannot, if you keep taking immigrants from war-torn countries, your country over time is going to become a war-torn country. Or if you take immigrants from a third world country, over time your country is going to become a third world country.
Unless you help change their
Unless you change, but that's if they want to change themselves. And you don't, this is the problem I have with the West. They try to stop any reasonable discussion within Islam as Islamophobic. Any white person that says anything about Islam is Islamophobic. That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. No, we should have an open and honest discussion about Islam. Islam is not a peaceful religion. I'll say it again, I'll say it for 100 years to come. You can take any take, you can have any take from it, whatever you want. You might say that Muhammad was a great guy and he had to do the things that he had to do. But you still cannot look at Islam as a whole and the ideology and what came subsequently and what's happening in the Middle East now and look at Islam as a positive force for the world. It's not.
No.
You're lying to yourself. And look, and people would say Qatar and Dubai and Saudi Arabia. Qatar and Dubai actively don't employ Sharia law. Mohammed bin Salman doesn't employ Sharia law ever since 2018 when he had the rift with the traditionalists where he had to lock them all in a hotel room and take all their money away. And that was his whole problem. It was like, look, if we want Saudi Arabia to come to the 21st century, we cannot have our strings in Islam. Even in Saudi Arabia now, the azan was 5 times a day, is turned to 1/3 of the volume. So it's not as loud as it used to be.
Really?
So he's making all these adjustments. He's saying women can become singers, women can drive, women can do all this.
Saudi Arabia gave me hope
Yes.
for the Muslim
And
world.
it's the reason is because their leader understands Islam. And you cannot say, like, you can be a Muslim, you can still pray, and I'm a spiritual person. You can define it through Islam or you can define it through Judaism or whatever you want to define as.
Because here's the thing.
You know?
It's very hard for me to see right now a real peace between Israel and Palestine, because in Palestine,
I don't think it will be. I don't think. And I'll say,
majority of the Palestinians, the Muslim Brotherhood, majority of Palestinians
yeah.
have been brainwashed to want to kill kids and to think that to be a shaheed is the best thing you can do in
Yeah,
your
they
life.
think they're going to go to heaven.
And it's very hard,
Yeah.
talk as much as you want and say ceasefire now. Guys, let's be honest. They've been brainwashed from such a crazy way that they don't want Israel alive. So take these walls down, they will kill them.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia gave me hope and said, wow, if a Muslim country is moving to, I can actually see peace with them. I can see not only peace, prosperity,
and this,
while they maintain their Muslim identity and they maintain their Jewish identity.
Yeah, it's going through a renaissance, going through age of enlightenment. And that's what saved Christianity, as you said. Mm-hmm. And if Islam is going to be saved, it needs to go through its own age of enlightenment. And this is the thing, and I think it can only, the renaissance of Islam can only kickstart with conversations like this.
Yes.
Where from ex-Muslims, we come and actively question Islam, and without the fear of death, without the fear of saying, oh, you drew Muhammad, you should be killed. All these things, like ridiculous things. I am allowed to question Islam, I'm allowed to question your prophet. And I should. And just look, I'm not a racist, I'm a culturalist. Okay. I think there are certain cultures that are good and certain cultures that are bad. And there are certain aspects of cultures that are good and certain aspects that are bad. And in a thriving culture, you have to take the best aspects of every culture and get rid of the negative aspects. So you can take some positive aspects from Islam as well. It's not all doom and gloom. You can take some positive aspects, like the fact that they fast. Fasting is good for your system. It's proven scientifically.
They have beautiful family values.
Yeah, exactly. Traditional family values. They don't, adhere to this whole bullshit ideology of LGBTQ. They don't agree that a man can be a woman and a woman can be.
They're not politically correct.
They're not politically
in your face.
Yeah, exactly.
In your face.
So
they like it, they don't like it, they don't like
so
you.
this is the thing. In a thriving society, we should be able to confront bad ideas and also idealize the right ideas. And the problem with Islam is that it's a totalitarian way of thinking with Islam. You either have to agree with Islam 100% or disagree with it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the way you should talk about it. But at the same time, I want open and honest discussion from former Muslims, from all people from all backgrounds that understand Islam, to come and question it without fear. This is the problem. Because, but since the inception of Islam, they put fear into people that if you question the Prophet, we will kill you. And that's how they grew, actually. Mm-hmm. That's how Islam means to submit. They submitted people to Islam by force. And, it took 200 years for Iran to become Muslim. And they implement the jizya. And this is the problem I have with Islam. If your religion is the truth, then why do you have to force it? It doesn't make sense. You can be a godly person, and that's the problem I have, and this is why and it doesn't happen overnight. All that needs to happen is a shift in the public consciousness. A shift in the public consciousness that people, A, are aware of Islam, and B, are brave enough to come and talk about it. And that's the only way, and we need Muslims, even within Islamic countries, people within Iran, people within Saudi Arabia, people within Syria, people within Iraq, or people that live all around the world, that have personal experience, to come and openly speak about it. That's the only way we can kickstart the Renaissance.
I think the day that Muslims will feel comfortable to criticize themselves without the fear of being killed, that's the day we'll see peace with Muslims. That's the day we'll see a real change.
Exactly.
That's literally a turning point.
Exactly.
I think when you see that.
Exactly. That's
I have a question for you about the Iranians, and I know we're running out of time, but that's an important question for me.
sure.
When I grew up, Gaza was open. I remember I was very friendly, welcoming. There was a lot of Gazans that worked with the Jews and a lot of Jews that worked with the Gazans. So it was very hard to fool an old Gazan man and tell him all the Jews are bad because, like, come on. My friend Moshe, my friend David, I know them, they're not bad. They're actually better than you. Same thing to fool Moshe, tell him all the Ahmeds and Yusufs are bad. He says, come on. I work with really dignified Ahmed and Yusuf. But what happened is several generations later, there were kids who grew up who did not know the other side and they were radicalized from birth. Iran right now, what do you think is going to happen if they don't take down this regime? Do you think the people will submit?
No. I think Iranians are a lot smarter because, as I said, it took 200 years for Islam. Islam was not a Muslim nation. It was a Zarathustra nation. And it took 200 years through forced taxing. But even Iranians, if you want to look at the history, they're Shiites. And the reason why they become Shiites is to differentiate themselves from the Sunnis. Because they hated Islam so much. And this is called a chemotherapy. So a king at the time realized that, okay, I can't get rid of Islam, but let me differentiate myself first. So you know what chemotherapy is? Is that when you enter a poison to get rid of a poison. So it's like, okay, I'll enter the poison of Shia so I can get rid of the poison of Islam and Sunnism.
Okay.
You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So Iranians were not Muslim, were never Muslim. Even we have Nowruz in 5 years. It's not an Islamic tradition. Nowruz is a Zarathustra tradition. It signifies the new year. And that's celebrated in Iran, you know?
Yeah.
So you can say there is a tiny majority, and I think overwhelming majority of people that live in Iran and outside of Iran, they've had sick of Islam. There was a recent survey done that 60% of Iranians don't see themselves as Muslim anymore. Why?
Really?
Yeah, 60%.
So the regime in Iran is not doing a good enough job to control the education system.
And that's exactly what happens when you force an ideology onto people. People start waking up to it, and that's exactly what happened to me. You know, they try to force this Islamic ideology, and of course, you know, 10, 20, 30% of people might be brainwashed, but long term, it doesn't work. Long term, it doesn't. And look, Persian culture is a very old culture. It's one of the oldest.
It was one of the biggest empires the world ever known.
Exactly. So Islam was imported. Persia and Iranians predate. So we can always get rid of Islam. It's not an issue. Even to this day, most people, they might say, you know, this is another thing I want to talk about in this podcast, maybe if I can, is that we need to separate spirituality from religion. Spirituality is something different. Spirituality is your own connection to God, and I believe in God also. Okay? Religion is something different. Yeah, religion is something different. But then the problem is people, because they cannot differentiate between spirituality and religion, they say, well, I'm a Muslim because I believe in God. Yeah, you can believe in God, but that doesn't mean you have to be a Muslim, or you have to be a Jew, or you have to be anything. You can just believe in God and have your own personal relationship. And that's what we need to, and this is the problem why maybe a lot of people say, well, I'm a Muslim or I'm a this, because they don't have a better definition of it. And they've been brainwashed as a kid. They're like, oh, you have to become Muslim and you have to, otherwise you'll go to hell. And they're kind of brainwashed into this idea that we need to unbrainwash them and unprogram them, that you can be a spiritual person and you can believe in God without Islam. Separate religion from spirituality.
Well, I think with Islam, they first should separate religion from state.
Yeah, of course.
From politics, and then maybe they can do the next step. But I'm
no, of course. But I mean, in every. And
I just want to look at if I missed any questions that I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, in all aspects, you need to. Even in the West, we need to separate spirituality from religion. Okay. And even in the Middle East, of course, we need a separation of church and state. So we need a separation of mosque and state first. That's a political thing.
Okay, that's maybe they're not that related because there are questions about Israel that I wanted to ask you.
Tell me, I have 5 more minutes and you can.
So the question that I had is, you know, I've seen these protests and demonstrations here, and many saying, you know, all the time, free Palestine, and I wonder to myself, like, free Palestine from who? From
Hamas.
What? Exactly.
Free Palestine from Hamas.
I think that would make the Palestinian life drastically better.
Yeah.
You know, they have issues with Israel. These issues should be resolved, of course, but these issues you have with every 2 countries that are bordering with each other and are claiming it's my land, your land. But free Palestine from Hamas. Now, another thing is what do you think would happen? You know, the people call Israel an apartheid, and I say, why? I said, because there's walls. And what do you think would happen if we remove the walls right now between Israel and Palestine?
Look, this is the thing. I find
No walls, no checkpoints.
No, no.
Every Palestinian
Yeah, of course,
can
of
just
course.
walk freely into Israel.
I know what you're saying. However, I just find it quite ridiculous that Egypt has such a strong border wall with Gaza. They're your Muslim brothers. Why can't you just take them all in Egypt? I don't understand that. Why? But this is the thing. Even Islamic countries know that Hamas is dangerous.
Yeah.
Even Islamic countries know that extremist groups are dangerous.
The Muslim
And that's
Brotherhood is
why
dangerous.
the border wall between Egypt and Gaza is as hard as anything it could be.
It's bigger than the wall between Israel and
Exactly. So they know. So it's funny to me that you don't want Palestinians, even though you can go to Cairo, free Palestine. Okay, open your border. You can free Palestine just there. Just tear down the border and you will free Palestine. You know? But you wouldn't do that. Why? Because you know Hamas is dangerous.
because there's a reason why this wall is there.
Yeah. You know, you wouldn't do that. And this is the thing, you know, Islamic countries, they virtue signal all the time. But when it comes to action, they don't take any action to help their brothers and sisters.
No.
Saudi Arabia didn't take a single refugee from Iraq and Syria during ISIS war. They didn't take a single refugee. They all end up coming to the West. And
they
why
had
should we take them
camps.
here?
They had these huge camps with air conditioning.
Yeah,
that was
exactly. They didn't take a single refugee. So why should we take these refugees when their own neighboring countries don't take them? Even Saudi Arabia. So, you know, these Islamic countries can virtue signal and go and protest. But when it comes to actually helping your brothers and sisters, you don't do anything. Never done, never will do.
They're the last.
Yeah, exactly. So even in Pakistan, you know, Afghanistan, ever since the Taliban took over, 1 million Afghanis fled Afghanistan to go to Pakistan. Pakistan deported every single one of them. So this
Where is
idea,
your solidarity?
yeah, where's your solidarity? If you think you're all Muslim and Muslim Brotherhood, yeah, you're only Muslim Brotherhood when it comes to actually doing terrorist things, you know?
You're only Muslim Brotherhood when it's against the West.
Exactly. And this is the thing, we need to de-radicalize the whole Middle East, and the only way that can happen, and it's not an overnight issue, we need to open discussion. Open discussion about Islam, open discussion about Quran, open discussion about the history of Islam, open discussion about the laws of Islam, open discussion about what Islam is doing right now in Islamic countries, and is whether that's okay. And I'm going to give you one last thing about what I think about the whole Palestine-Israel thing. I don't think there can be a two-state solution. I really don't think. I don't think there can be a two-state solution, and I think one state should take over. Who do I trust more? Israelis. Israel should take over the Gaza, take over the West Bank. If you want, you can naturalize all the Palestinians and give them Israeli passports. Over time, go through that process. I don't think there can be peace. And I think one state should take over. And that's what I truly believe in. Either Israel has to go, which they're not going to go. And I don't want them to go because they're a front line of what we have to fight.
Front line of democracy.
Yeah, front line of democracy, and I agree with that. And however, but at the same time, look, I've said this in the beginning, and I'm going to say it again one more time in the end. I don't condone everything that Israel does. I don't condone everything that Israel.
You know what? Let me
does.
answer the best explanation I can answer to
Okay.
that question of yours. You've seen Game of Thrones. You've seen
Yeah.
war shows. You call Israel the front line of democracy, and I agree with you. Now, when you have a group of nations that is in the front line, constantly fighting, constantly in battle, and then you have other nations that are great fighters, but they're not that battle trained right now, and they do philosophy and they talk. And then you come and you sit on a table and you meet. How is that warrior going to look? He's going to look dirty. He's going to be scarred. He's going to be rigged. He's going to be a bit more suspicious. He's going to be a little bit less patient with silly ideas because he lost brothers and sisters for silly ideas.
I agree.
He paid the price. So Israel, of course, there's a lot of things to condemn them, but Israel is fighting the fight for the West, and they're getting their hands dirty, fighting the enemy of the West, and they do mistakes. War does mistakes, and they learn from their mistakes, and that's what I like about Israel. Yes, they might be doing mistakes in this war, but they're going to learn from it.
Yes.
And they
that's
have
why
a free speech in Israel.
Exactly,
People are going to come out of
exactly.
this war and says government,
It's bad.
F you.
People, exactly.
People F you. We don't want that again. That was unacceptable. I'm scarred from what happened. You know, there will be a thing, but there will be a voice. So Israel's not perfect. They're humans. But they are in the front war, and that warrior is a battle scarred, full of mud, full of blood. And he's just, and then he comes to the people that he's basically fighting, and they're the one pointing their fingers. Oh, shame on you. Look how dirty you are. Well, I'm dirty because I'm fighting your war.
Yeah, that's true. And
that's a way that I thought that I can explain it sometimes.
I agree. And look, I want Israel to win this war against radical Islam. However, I think the way Israel is going about it, and I'm not a military expert, I think 30,000, 35,000 last time I heard, people killed, most of them women and children. That's not okay. You've killed almost 20,000 women and children, and I know it's war, and I know the context of Hamas, and I know they hide in buildings, and I know they hide in tunnels, and I know they shoot their own people, and I know all these things. It's not okay to kill 20,000 women and children.
Okay,
yeah,
but these numbers are actually, and
Yeah.
saddens me to say, are actually lower than other
okay.
Western wars.
Let's say it's lower. Let's say it's lower.
The ratio in Israel is basically 1 to 2.
Okay, but look.
The ratio in America did it, or France, or
Okay.
Britain, was about 1 to 10. So Israel is actually schooling the world about fighting. But when you fight terrorist organizations who are hiding in civilian society,
I agree.
that's the price you pay. So Israel is actually Olympic level in humanitarian
Yeah.
compared to the rest of the West. Yes,
Yeah,
there
you
still is.
can question that. Yeah, sure. I mean,
So
the only way we could
question
get rid of
would be,
ISIS is to kill.
When you go
yeah.
to fight terrorism, there's going to be civilian, because terrorists usually cowardishly hide behind women and children.
Yeah.
Now the question is, are you going to go fight them or not? Because if you do, there's going to be casualties.
Yes.
If you don't, there will be probably more casualties.
Yes.
Longer run.
Yes, you can say
Among
that, but
them-
at the same time,
It's terrible what I'm saying in some
yeah,
ways.
no, but at the same time, you cannot.
30,000 dead
you-
now, or
yeah.
300,000
but you're
dead
creating
later.
more terrorists. That's the thing. With
That
this war,
is-
you're creating more terrorists unless
You
you're
humiliate them and you break them.
yes. No, not humiliate them.
No, I'm talking the
In
ideology.
terms of ideology.
Yeah, not like
So,
Palestinians.
no.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
You humiliate Hamas. You make them look like the fools they are, because they
Yeah,
are
no,
fools.
but this
When
is
you
the
have a
thing.
bunch
But
of
look,
guys
this is not going to happen overnight.
It comes to a nuclear country. Oh, what and they go. What do you think is going to happen to you?
This is the thing. Look,
They have fighter jets.
this
They
is
have
not
tanks. You have a,
exactly. I agree, but this is not going to happen overnight.
you have a bicycle.
We're not gonna-
parachute.
we're not going
Parachute.
yeah, of course, this is not going to happen overnight, and this is why I'm trying to encourage the discussion all over the West and even in Islamic countries. More and more people need to come and question Islam. I don't disagree.
Yes.
However, that being said, I'm not a religious person. I don't really necessarily know what it says in the book of Torah, for example. So I can't really, and I'm sure, a lot of Islam comes from Torah, especially the beginning part.
That's
so
heavily influenced.
yeah, exactly. So, it's the old people of the book. I know a lot about Islam, that's why I criticize a lot about Islam. I know a lot about Christianity too. I don't know a lot about Judaism. So I can't really, but fundamentally I'm not a religious person. I feel like all religions are man-made. However, the most dangerous one is Islam. There's no denying that. The most dangerous one in Islam, and more people need to tackle it, and we need to de-radicalize people.
Yeah.
So the only way that can happen is that Israel takes control of Gaza militarily, and this needs to be a 20 or 30 year process because a lot of people have died already, and a lot of people have been radicalized already. You can't stop that. A lot of people have lost their children, their wives, their husbands. These people are going to be radicalized.
Yeah.
Okay? So you can't stop that. What you can do is that overall with Israel and with the Arab countries, but then the problem is countries like Egypt would never do this, is that you start questioning Islam and the values.
Saudi Arabia
has started
is
it.
leading it, and I'm hoping that other countries will follow suit.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia is leading, and I hope with the Abraham Accords they will see what a
Yeah.
what a wonderful Middle East it could be.
Exactly. And the
If
thing,
countries work together, Jews and Muslims, they're the closest to each other,
Yeah.
Arabs and etc. That would be, I hope that
yeah,
Saudi
genetically
Arabia,
it's funny because the people that are in that, they're all the same. Like the people that were born in Israel or Palestine, it's like, I already studied that. It's like, it's
you
people, they're
look like-
killing each other. They're like
you look
80% the same.
Yeah, you look like half of my friends in Israel. I'm serious. You go to
Yeah.
Tel Aviv now, no one would even think that you're not an Israeli.
Yeah. That's the
just-
thing. But it's funny because 80% of the DNA in that region between Palestinians and Israeli, you share the common DNA. You share the common ancestors.
The closest people to each other.
Yeah,
are
you're
the
the
one
closest
killing the
people to
most.
each other, and you've lived there thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and you're killing each other the most. It's just ridiculous. And this idea that you're committing genocide, you're committing genocide against your own people. That's what you're fundamentally.
That is.
But the problem is religion. This is the problem. Genetically we're the same, but ideologically we're different. And I think this is, if you want to take it to a spiritual level, I think this is the last battle between the Jews and the Islam. And I hope what comes out of this is that Islam takes a back seat and goes through his own age of enlightenment. But also Jews have already. Jews are not radicalized anyway. But also Jews that have to realize that, look, just because I question Israel or just because I question some of the things that Jews done, I'm not anti-Semitic. I question everything.
Yeah.
So we have to get rid of this idea that if you say something about the Jews, you're anti-Semitic. No, I disagree. The same way, if you say something about Islam, it doesn't mean you're Islamophobic.
I agree.
I
agree that a lot of Muslims in the world see this battle as a spiritual battle, and they see it's like a gladiator arena,
Yeah.
and they have
Yeah.
Hamas and Israel. And when they see Hamas winning in their head,
Yeah.
Nabi Muhammad
Yeah.
gave them victory, yay,
Yeah.
against the West. Israel is representing the West, this is representing Islam, and they like to watch this arena, but they don't want to get dirty.
Yeah.
They don't want it to come to their house. They like to watch that TV show, this battle. Let's see, when are we gonna win?
Yeah.
Brother, we've spoken a lot,
Yeah.
and I honestly enjoyed every piece of conversation with you. I think you're a very interesting man.
Thank you.
And I'm thinking to myself now, how am I gonna make so many shorts from what we talked right now, because there was so many beautiful pearls here that you said that I'm gonna have to cut them and make, because I think, you know, we have a lot of material here of really pure wisdom and also respectful opinions. Maybe we don't agree about most of the things. Actually, I think we agree about a lot of things, but I think there's maybe small things we don't agree, and that's fine. That's completely fine.
Yeah.
But I thank you so much for taking from your time and coming here.
Thank you.
And let's do this again.
Sure, definitely.
Definitely.
Send me all the stuff, okay?
I will send you, and if you can send me as well.
I'll just.